Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. 8 in the morning, 8 wins in a row. I gotta be honest though, if we're gonna keep that streak going, it's gonna be hard once we get to 25. R7YM, PBY8. PBY8. Are you a crunchy or a smooth peanut butter consumer? I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it's the perfect example of what is known in rhetoric as the false dilemma fallacy, which is like, you know, there's only two options, you know, you're either with us or you're against us. That's not true. You could be, you know, with someone on, you know, 75% of the central tenets of their philosophy and then against another 25%, you know? There's lots of room in the middle. There's people who are undecided whether or not they're with you or they're against you. There's all sorts of different options. I feel that way about the crunchy and smooth peanut butter debate as well. People act sometimes like you can only espouse the benefits of one particular varietal of peanut butter, and I don't stand by that. I think the more likely case is that people have a preference, but anybody who likes crunchy will also like smooth. On the other hand, people who like smooth, I'm gonna be honest, I think that there's an increased chance that they will not like crunchy. Because I think that maybe they're one of those, like, food purists, whereas, like, all of my food needs to have an exactly uniform texture, and the beef never touches the potatoes, which never touches the carrots, and you never have a mouthful of two foods at the same time. I'm not saying that if you like smooth peanut butter, that is what you're like. All I'm saying is that if you are a smooth peanut butter aficionado, those people are in your base. They're not in the crunchy base. Or the crunchy roll, for that matter. I mean, did you see those guys sold to Sony for $0.953 billion? That's the way numbers work. So I'll tell you, it's weird. I'm a crunchy peanut butter guy in the sense that I prefer crunchy peanut butter, but most of the time I actually end up buying smooth. And what could possibly be the reason for this madness? I don't want to use this. This bomb might be more precious than we even know. Well, because honestly, when I was into the whole working out thing, the smooth peanut butter, it just, you know, it mixes better if you're gonna put it into a protein shake. If you just need a spoonful here or there, it's kind of like a little easier to stomach a smooth tablespoon of peanut butter, like right out the jar, than it is a crunchy one. You know, peanut butter is kind of a common sort of workout food because it's, you know, full of good monounsaturated fats. It's also calorically dense, which is nice if you need a quick snack that'll fill you up, or alternatively, like if you're trying to gain weight, for example, which I was for a while last year because I didn't realize we were going to be spending, you know, the next, you know, 10 plus months inside. I didn't know that was... If I had known that, I probably would have tried to go lean in 2019 instead of going in a little harder on the bulking side, but so be it. You know, we got different fish to fry now. Alright, we're on the basement 2. We got maybe, like, one of the best items I think we could have possibly asked for. I really think Super Bandage, mostly as a result of the... well, we'll take... Why not? Yeah. As a result of those extra spirit hearts giving us a great deal with the devil opportunities, I think we got a great kind of bead on success here in this run. It is a little early. It's around, you know, almost 9 a.m. But I gotta tell you, you know, as long as we're doing the baby sleep audit, like this baby, I have some complaints about the daytime. Like last night, I would say between the hours of like 5:30 and 11, she was crying like 70% of the time. You feed her, she's not crying when she's eating. As soon as the feeding's done, she starts crying. You go, oh, your diaper must be dirty. Diaper's dirty, change the diaper. Doesn't even buy 30 seconds of peace. Starts crying again. But, you know, we got her to sleep, which is nice. And then she slept from like 11:30 until maybe 7. Dude, that's like... That's at the point where I almost, and this is not what I expected to happen, you know, when you got a 1-month-old infant, but we're almost at the point where I'm like, I gotta stop talking about it because I think I'm getting more sleep than the average person without an infant. I'm sorry, Bumbo. You're actually like a really good item, and I'm gonna be honest. I wish I took you. I wish I took you. But we'll take the money for ourselves. We're gonna re-roll slot machine. Like, here's the deal. If you don't have money, slot machine is horrible. If you do have money, I think it's still really bad. Monster Manuel at least can give us an orbital from time to time. Now, we're kind of in the same boat like the D8. I don't think it's particularly great if your stats are already good. And I would say that our stats are already good. So I'm kind of fishing for, like, you know, some kind of passive item. And I think that the reroll could pay dividends. I'm just not like, we're coming from a position of safety. I always come back to this. Anytime I think about risk, I think about this news story I read in like 2009, where this young man in England took out his life savings, which was like 100,000 pounds because the world was different back then, and he took it to the casino. And he was like, I want to start a new life. I'm going to quit my job. You know, and I can't remember if he was like, you know, leaving his family or whatever, but so he was like, I just figured I'm going to take all my money and I'm going to go to the casino and I'm going to put it on red, you know, and if red wins, then I double my money. And if red loses, hey, I'm going to, you know, I'm starting from zero anyway. What's the point? He figured, like, I can't lose. And I always think about how stupid that man was. Even though he won, let's just be honest, he didn't deserve to. Okay, hold on. We're taking both here. I mean, this is now like a very, very likely win. Because, you know, if you've already resigned yourself, I suppose, to the idea that, like, hey, I'm going to be starting a new life. Where the flowers will bloom, I will buy you a new car, perfect, shiny, and new. Sorry, I had to. What was I saying? Okay, so he's resigned himself to, like, he's going to start from zero. You know what? Fair enough. But I just... The thing is, there is, you know... I mean, at a roulette table, it's not 50-50, but it's pretty close. You know, it's like, you know, 48-52 if you bet on, you know, red or black. Occasionally it'll show up. I mean, like, 2 of 36 numbers are... greens, which means they don't get... I mean, that's how the casino keeps you from mathematically breaking even on the roulette table. That's like a built-in rake right there. Regardless, here's the deal. You might say, like, well, proportionally, like, you know, according to the statistical model of it, you know, he was right. He was not right. Because here's the deal. Yes, my man is either going, you know, he's either doubling or going to zero. Fair enough. However, there's such a huge difference in your life between 0 and 100,000. Like, that's, you're going from, I mean, honestly, starting at 0 kind of puts you ahead of a lot of people who are, you know, in student loan debt. I laugh not to be like, ha ha, but because of, like, you know, isn't that kind of absurd that having nothing actually puts you in, like, the top half of wealth? But anyway, like, we're not getting into that over the course of this episode, but regardless, you know, to be at 100,000, you're kind of killing it. You know, you're doing a great job. You've got comfort. You've got that, you know, you've quelled that little voice inside of your head that's like, money's a problem, at least temporarily. 0, you know, you're kind of, you know, you're putting yourself way behind the 8 ball. And if you're at 0, then you're at 0. But to put yourself at 0, you know, willingly, you know, just for a 50% chance to go from 100,000 to 200,000 is insanity. I'm not saying, you know, there's no difference in the quality of life from, you know, 100,000 pounds to 200,000 pounds. I don't know what it's like in England. You know, it might mean you order from DoorDash 1 extra time per week, or you know, it might mean that you own a barony or something like that. I got no idea how it works over there. It's too exotic. I'm over here in Canada. I'm just trying to figure out how many, you know, polar bears that would buy you. But it's just like, you know, just because the mathematics of it makes sense, like, the risk of it doesn't make sense necessarily. And that's how I feel, like we were talking about 4 minutes ago, about the D8. If you're in a bad position, yeah, let it ride. Why not? If you're in a good position, though, the risk of, you know, using it and then finding yourself in a deleterious point is not worth it. It's just my 2 cents. I mean, just in general, I probably wouldn't rely on the casino as your financial plan. Unless you own the casino, in which case, more power to you. Well, I don't know. I have complicated thoughts on gambling. And I'll admit that my thoughts are... I would... Okay, well, I guess we're gonna do it. I guess we're gonna do it again. I wouldn't say troubling, but I would say that they are steeped in ignorance, but I'm at least aware of that ignorance. Like, I remember they were gonna build a casino in my hometown. This is back in, like, maybe 1995. And it got mired in city council, like, you know, you can't build a casino within, you know, X kilometers of the schools, and, you know, it can't be close to this, this, and this. And then, like, do we even want this here? People were literally worried that our little dinky small-town casino was gonna bring, like, mafia influence to the town. And to be honest, at the time, it seemed ridiculous, and it still kind of seems ridiculous, but now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't know anything about La Cosa Nostra. Maybe there's a chance it would have gotten a little goofy. But anyway, so they ended up, you know, the casino that was planning to build in my hometown ended up building in the town. I didn't even see him come up, that's my bad. Ended up building in a town that's like 40 minutes down the road, and now, you know, hundreds of people a day catch like a shuttle from in front of the Staples in order to go to the casino, and then they catch a shuttle home as well instead of just being able to walk to it. And I always thought, like, to me that was kind of like a little ridiculous. Like, what are you worried about? People are going to gamble anyway. But I don't know. Weirdly enough, the catalyst for all this stuff is kind of like the loot box discussion that we always have, right? Like, my opinion on loot boxes is that I hold 2 conflicting viewpoints simultaneously. Like Angelica Schuyler, alright? 3 fundamental truths at the exact same time. First, I don't buy loot boxes. I will pay for a battle pass. Like, I bought the Rocket Pass for Rocket League. I kind of, you know, and I understand what you're getting yourself into. You are paying money for nothing. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, it's a surrogate feeling of accomplishment when you complete the things in the battle pass, you know, that I think enhances, or can enhance, your enjoyment of a video game. And, you know, it was only $11 Canadian, so just, you know, letting my daughter go without diapers for like a week, and we should break even on that. But then, on top of that, anytime people complain about loot boxes, I have what I guess I would describe as a harmful opinion, which is that I do think they're exploitative, but at the same time, just don't buy them. Which is very forehead. And then the third fundamental truth that, again, is it keeps me in a level of cognitive dissonance because I have an unresolved opinion about this, is like, I recognize that it's not so easy to just not buy it if you are, you know, if you have tendencies towards addictive tendencies towards gambling in particular. So I understand. I hear you. Or if you're a kid, for example. Like, like, the thing is, you always... You know, when you're 16, you think that you're, you know, operating at an adult level. And honestly, like, the average 16-year-old, you're operating better than some adults. There are adults... I was gonna say that I know, but not really. There are adults I have met where you just meet them and you're like, you have, you know, the judgment of a teenager right now, so we'll just be parting ways. But you're, you know, the bad news is, if you're, let's say you're 16 right now, you're probably as dumb as you will ever be in your life from this point forward. And it might sound like a personal attack. I promise you it's not. If anything, it's kind of a compliment, because it means that you're just going to get smarter over time. So whatever you're thinking now, that's like, I got it all figured out, there's 2 possibilities. You're wrong, which is great. You're going to figure it out as you go. The other one is that you're right, and oh my god, you're going to be like a super genius by the time you're my age. But, you know, as a 16-year-old, you still, I mean, even as a 32-year-old, I'm not quite 32, but I'm kind of, you know, I'm trending in that direction. You have irrational thoughts sometimes. You know, I don't, if you're over the age of 18, it's not like your brain has necessarily changed, you know, to a transformative degree. But, you know, that's kind of where we draw the line, at least in North America, of like, now you're an adult, you're kind of held responsible for your decisions. When you're 16, you might be like, you know what, I'm just not going to worry about anything, and I'm going to do, you know, $1,000 worth of rolls in Genshin Impact. If you're 16, people will judge you, but, you know, legally speaking, should you have been able to put yourself in that position? I would argue no. You know, I'm sure there's some 9-year-olds out there that can drive a car better than some 50-year-olds. But, you know, there's a reason we don't let them into Formula 1. I don't know where I'm going with this. I have another controversial take, because I'm the enemy of the gamer, apparently. Here's my controversial take, is that I feel like so many people are, like, anti, like, free-to-play games with microtransactions. We encountered a room like this before recently. Hold on. Do we have to kill you in order to make everybody else come back to get to vulnerability? Because I'm like a second away from just like, why don't you just go ahead and take this demon heart? Like, so many people seem to see it, and they're usually my age and grumpy. But so many people seem to see it as like, oh, it's the scourge of the video gaming industry, these microtransactions. But meanwhile, they're like, I need those summer crates! I didn't even know there was a shot available there, but we're still so fine here, it's just kind of annoying. It would be, like, it was pretty cool when the stars aligned back, you know, when I was a teenager. You buy a game for, you know, $60, and then it stays evergreen forever. It has a healthy player base. You don't have to queue for, you know, 20 minutes just to play a single round of, you know, MotoGP on Xbox Live or whatever. But what normally happened is, you know, we didn't have these games that lasted for like a decade like there's games that last now. You know, people, in my opinion, they always see the bad of the free-to-play model, they never see the good. Like, the only way you can get people on your side on the free-to-play model is if you just accept, like, I'm gonna maintain this game forever and never even try to make any money off of it. That's the only way people will be like, you're free to go. I give you my support. Like, back in the day, you know, there were a couple games, or, you know, like, probably a few games a year that just lasted forever, which was great, right? You know, if you bought Halo 2 on Xbox, you're going to be able to, you know, play Halo 2 is going to have a healthy population for, like, you know, 6 or 7 years. But oftentimes, you would, like, buy a game, and then maybe 2 months after release, it's not the new hotness anymore. People have moved on to something else. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in the free-to-play world, but I think there's such a broader swath of games that actually get to have a healthy player base as a result of the fact that you're not charging people, you know, just for admission. Instead, like, it's like a nightclub, you know? If you got a nightclub and there's a cover charge, there's a certain percentage of people who cannot or will not attend. Like, I am one of them. I have paid cover charge before in my life, but every single time, without fail, I went, why are we paying cover charge? Like, I'm paying to get into your business to buy drinks? It doesn't make any sense. Other places are like, hey, we got a happy hour special, come on in. And you're like, it's $20 just to step foot on the sticky floor? Doesn't make any dang sense, dude. And then some places... Well, I was going to say that... Here's where that bit was going to go. I was going to say some places don't have a cover charge and then make up that $20 by charging you like an extra $2.50 on every single item you order. But that's not really true, because you pay the cover charge to get into those clubs, and then you're like, I'll have a water, please. And they're like, that'll be $100,000. And then you're like, thank God I won big at the roulette table. Otherwise, I'd be parched right now. So are there exploitative, free-to-play models? Sure. But I will say, when the worst is EA. Let's just be honest. Gacha games, sure, as well, but also EA. EA, to me, is the worst because it's not even like they're making evergreen platforms. They're like, it's, FIFA. FIFA 20 comes out last, July or whatever. You invest $1,500 so you're not getting bodied by 19-year-old British YouTubers constantly online. You've got a 95 overall diamond Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. And then, of course, you've got a legendary Peter Cech as your keeper. You know, nobody can score on you. You spend $50 for the game. You spend $1,000 on Ultimate Team. You're on an expiration date, because next year FIFA 21 comes out. You got to do the whole thing all over again. That's insanity to me. Even though I did, like, I played Ultimate Team in NHL for like 2 months. I put very little money. I bought like the pre-order edition of the game that came with some packs, and then apart from that, I didn't put any money into it. But I was like, I'm gonna go the free-to-play route, and I'm gonna grind some good players. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm seriously grinding like an hour a day against the AI to get like a 91 overall Ray Ferraro just so I can compete with, like, you know, some frozen food empire heir has put like $30,000 into the game and is like, I got 5 Bobby Orrs on my first line. Bobby Orr's a defenseman. He can play out, okay? Anyway, that stuff is the worst to me. But the stuff that, like, I don't know, to me, the stuff I always, like, get annoyed at other YouTubers for complaining about it. And it's, you know, it's a matter of opinion. I'm not saying they can't complain about it, but I don't see the problem. Is stuff like Valorant, that's like, the game's free, but there's like, you know, if you wanted to. You know, they do things like, if you bought every microtransaction in Valorant, you would spend $30,000. Yeah, don't buy it. If you walked into like, you know, Walmart, and you took a total, you know, value of all the merchandise in the store, even if you just bought one of each item, you'd be like, what the heck, you know? $4 million? How is anyone to be expected to purchase every single item inside of this store? You're not, you weirdo. Just, you don't need every item for everybody. Like, if you, and, you know, this is where it's like, you know, forehead, but I think we buy this because we have good orbital setups right now. If you have that compulsion, I genuinely feel for you, but I'm also like, at the same time, you must then have a problem with every single store on planet Earth. And he's like, when you visit a restaurant and you look at the menu, logically you're like, oh, I can only eat so much, but like, do you not feel the compulsion to be like, I want to have one of everything? What do? You don't order one of everything, right? You know, control yourself. Take only what you need, forehead. Anyway. I'm just saying. I support the free-to-play business model. And, you know, I mean, again, I'm not saying I got the be-all, end-all opinion of things, but, you know, what about games that have a truly exploitative free-to-play model? My forehead take is don't take them. Or don't play them, I should say. You know, respect your time more. Just play like 3,000 hours of Civ 6 like everybody else. I have a problem with forehead, okay? So if you're not familiar with Twitch culture, forehead is something you say when the solution to a problem is simple, but maybe you give non-specific feedback. Like, I think the first huge uptick it saw is when, like, people would die in Fortnite and then be like, how could I beat this guy? And people would say, just build. Because, you know, that's a simple catch-all for what is actually complicated. Just building, you know, requires a lot of practice in and of itself, and, you know, it's not just build. Like, you're not just going to build a bunch of floors. You got to build, you know, your ramps and your walls, and you got to whip around like crazy, so on and so forth. But some of the things that people say, you know, forehead for, as if like, oh, you can't just do that. I'm like, you can just do it. Like, here's the thing. If you have the compulsion to buy loot boxes, and, you know, do all those rolls in gacha games and stuff like that, it's not so easy to be like, just don't do the rolls, forehead. But I think it is kind of easier to be like, just don't play the game, you know, forehead. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to avoid getting myself into a prickly situation. But here's the way I would think of it, okay? Trying to think of... Okay, here's a great example. I have an impulse to eat salty snacks, right? If I buy crackers, pretzels, potato chips, I wouldn't say unable, but let's say some kind of combination of unwilling and unable to portion them out in such an appropriate way as to, like, we'll, you know, eat, you know, a quarter of the bag tonight, and then we'll save a quarter for tomorrow, and then, oh, I got, you know, we're doing movie night on Saturday, so I'll save the other half for then. I don't do that. I just, you know, I'm a little peckish, open up the bag, grab a handful, you know, close the bag, naively thinking like that's the end of it, and then, you know, I end up going back for a handful every single time I go to the bathroom over the course of the next, you know, 12 hours, and then you're like, oh, the bag's 2/3 gone, I might as well just finish the last third, right? It's an unhealthy way to approach that. So what I don't do is I don't regularly keep those snacks in the household and then just expect myself not to eat them. What I do instead is operate on the age-old axiom that, you know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You're going to be much better off if you just avoid the temptation in the first place, you know? I think it's the same as, like, you know, I think if you were, like, recovering from an alcohol problem, you probably wouldn't be like, don't worry about it, I'm just gonna go to the bar and every night and not drink. You would be like, sorry guys, if you really wanted to make it work at least, you would be like, sorry guys, I'm not gonna go to the bar tonight because I'm kind of trying to recover from, you know, my problem. Maybe one day I'll be able to return and have like a healthy you know, interaction there and just order a club soda, but, you know, in the infancy of the recovery is probably not the best idea. You probably also, though, would not be like, how dare this bar operate? I don't know. That's just the way you know, I think I'm not advocating necessarily to be one of those people who's like, whatever happened to personal responsibility? Because you know, I think people have always been like, this thing I don't like should not exist. I don't think that's anything new. All I'm saying is, you know, from a loot box and free-to-play standpoint, I'm for sure on the side of, like, I think the business model should exist, but I'm sympathetic if you have a problem with it. But instead of, like, reforming the game around yourself, I think you should maybe just, you know, play something else, is my take. I know it's not so easy, but... And you know what the impetus for this is, really? Is that, you know, yesterday I paid $30 for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Battle Royale on Steam. The only reason I did it is because that's a write-off. That's going to show up with a $sign and then a left bracket and then $30, and then we're going to close that bracket up. That's an accounting joke for those of you keeping financial ledgers out there. I mean, it's still, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to get into the minutia of it, but it's still going to cost me some money. But I was like, we can get some business and entertainment out of it. But the whole time I was playing it, I could only get like 3 out of 100 people in a lobby for this Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Battle Royale. I think we had 7 people once, but that was because we were streaming it. So we had a little bit of extra attention, right? The whole time I was doing it, I was like, if you just made this free with microtransactions... We'd hit 100 people. Which, I don't know if you would make more or less money, but here's the deal, you know? If you're getting 5 people in a lobby on launch day, I don't think we're too concerned about what the shareholders think of it, because not exactly a bustling financial success, right? I think you need the player base to be able to play the game, and then maybe after that you could start to worry about, like, is this monetizable? Because at $30 a game, you're not... I mean, PUBG sold for $30 a game. But Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I would say maybe slightly more niche appeal, at least from a video game context. You know what? It's a touch spicy. I wouldn't deny that there's a touch of spice to this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think Sack Dagger carries us to the highest degree here. Judas' Shadow, nice get as well. So anyway... I will admit, you know, there's my oversimplification of like, here's what I would do, Forehead, and acknowledging the problems with Forehead as well. However, I mean, here's the thing, you know, you can never find a shortage of things to blame your problems on, right? It's not my problem, it's Genshin Impact's problem. It's not my problem, it's EA's problem. It's not my problem, it's the troll engine. How could they do this to me, you know? And I do feel sometimes, especially online, any kind of attitude towards, like, I'm gonna solve a problem is met with, like, you know, oh, why don't I just strap on my problem-solving helmet and jump in my problem-solving cannon, you know? People act like they're not equipped with the tools to kind of do it. They're, like, defenseless against the predatory model of the video games industry. I don't buy it. I don't buy it fully. I'm not suggesting, because I know that the criticism is going to be, oh, NL suggesting that gambling issues don't exist. It's not what I'm suggesting at all. I've seen the commercials. But on the other hand, I want that free-to-play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game, loot boxes or not. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. I'm such a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya!